What are the rules from withdrawing money from your 401k? Now, this gets complicated because they keep changing. It's ever complicated. So you have to stay on top of this one, get a pen and paper. I'm going to tell you what it is today. And then we have to stay on this channel so we keep you up to date. At any point, go to AskLoral.com and ask a question because there are a lot of rules around this, depending on who set up your plan and the IRS. The three things specifically I want to talk to you today about is specifically today, what is a withdrawal? What are the rules? Even engage in some of the hardship rules. How do you do a withdrawal without having penalties or incurring any of those fees? I'll talk a little bit about the minimum distribution at certain ages, like 70, you got to do it. So we'll go into that. The third is alternative retirement investment accounts. What can you do? Because these things, for some of them, and I do like the Roth, it's one of my favorite, there are so many benefits and most of you don't use it properly. So let's begin. So what is a 401k? How do you use it? I'm actually going to read some definitions here. A 401k is a tax advantage retirement account that you can contribute pre-tax money to. If you withdraw the funds before age 59 and a half, you face early withdrawal penalties. Now, here's what's interesting about the 401k. If it's self-directed, you actually can do a lot more with it. You can self-direct to real estate, you can buy cattle, you can buy anything agricultural, you could buy gold, you can buy a company, like self-directed companies. And I'm not talking the Schwabs and Fidelities of the world. They have self-directed accounts, but you can only buy their products, right? Their bonds, mutual funds, or their, self-supported stocks. So it's very limited. So yes, they do it, but in a very limited fashion. I want you to learn how to self-direct to the alternatives because it's a way bigger opportunity. But again, just like most things in finance or health, there's the Western old tradition, right? I call it park and pray. Hope to God it all works out. Or you live in the alternatives. The wealthiest and the healthiest live in the alternatives of medicine and for the finance space. And so it's a very unique group of people who do these techniques and strategies. They're not offered by what I call the stock and block big old financial firms. So you got to dig in a little. And again, I use AskLoral.com for you to ask questions, make requests, understand what your options are, because a lot of you aren't activating all the strategy that you could be to make it beneficial. The downside of a 401k is the tax structure when you actually get to 59 and a half and older, is when you start pulling that money out, it's taxed, right, at local federal rates. So you got all sorts of issues because you can't control it, which is why most of the strategies that are around this community are more life insurance based because you can pull that and then you get paid that tax free. So you can't control the tax. And I've seen so many employees of large companies put, $500,000, million into a 401k. And like now, with interest rates and rates the way they are, you're pulling out at a higher tax basis than you normally would need to. I'm going to talk about the Roth at the end of the video because it's my favorite and you have so much opportunity to not only make your kids millionaires, but really contribute to your financial base in a different way. How do you withdraw without any penalties? So I'm actually going to just read this. The IRS allows penalty-free distributions before your retirement age. And again, I hate the word retirement because it's around this vehicle, this product called a 401k, but I don't believe in retirement because it's an agricultural word that means to put cattle to pasture to die. You're not a cow, not dying. And honestly, there's also an association that retirement means you're done, like you've checked out. I want you to do whatever you want to do till the day you walk off this planet. Stay engaged, you'll live longer, I promise you. And it's just a healthier thing to do. Hardship withdrawal options. Medical expenses is an option, withdrawal without penalties. Costs associated to a purchase of a home. Tuition, education, fees, and expenses. Repair and damage to a primary home. Money needed to prevent eviction, foreclosure of your primary home. The challenge is if you pull on any of those to take them out, even though it might be without penalty, you're pulling down the very principle of what you really need for later in life. So to me, I park that and you keep that continuing to churn and create the compounding power of money and try to double it, in 5-7 years on a regular basis and keep the contributions. So the one thing to know too, though, you can withdraw early if, again, I'm just reading the straight code here, right? If you become disabled, you can pull. If you are ordered to pay sums to another person, like in a divorce, you can actually pull for early withdrawal or a separation of that vehicle called the 401k vehicle. You accept a series of substantially equal payments for at least 5 years or until your age 59 and a half, or you leave your job in a calendar year, the year that you turn 55. So those are some ways that you can do an early withdrawal without penalties. So I just want to use some of those rules. Before I tell you about the alternatives that I enjoy, in my opinion of a 529 plan, and there's a lot of varying opinions, I want to have you make sure you subscribe to this channel. We talk about everything money and business here. So click the notification button and listen to it. Get a journal, and every day this year I want 365 days of you listening and learning and taking a note of what did you learn, what habit are you going to change, what did you learn, what are you going to do. Like, start really putting this in your life and just saying, oh, this is kind of cool. I appreciate you sharing them, because your circle of people need to have these conversations as well. And they need to know the truth, not some random stuff from the bathroom wall called the internet where anybody can write anything. And there's a lot of misleading facts that are out there. Always go back to the agency who's creating the rules. The IRS in this case is creating the rules around these vehicles. And if there's a topic that's not out here that you and your family want me to talk about, put it in the comments, and we'll come right back out here next month and talk about other topics that you want on this channel to serve you. So the alternatives, which is my favorite place to play. Let's talk about my favorite, the Roth. So the Roth is a tax-free, tax-deferred account. Now, traditional financial planners and even traditional mortgage people will say they don't like it. Well, that's because they don't know how to invest in it. It grows tax-free. So for example, I bought some cryptos in it, right? So I bought Bitcoin at 3, 4, and 9,000, right? When it went up, I did a 20% sell-off, and now it's kind of rocking and rolling. If it settles back out, I'll buy back in. So you buy low, sell high, and it's tax-free inside. Once you grow that up, you can actually do loans to other people for real estate, hard money, all sorts of alternatives that you can do with the right institutes. And again, if you're interested in this, go to Ask Loral, ask a question, say, how do I meet Loral's expert team? You got to come all the way up to the big table to meet everybody, because you got to be serious about being a millionaire. So the other thing that I love about Roths, I talk about it in my most recent book called Make Your Kids Millionaires, how when my kids were born, and most of my clients, when their kids are born, they're employed by one of the companies that they own. And then with employment, you can go and open a Roth. And then with a Roth, you can self-direct. And if all you did for your children from 0 to 20 years old is contribute $6,000 a year to their Roth, which is $500 a month. So what you do is you employ them at, say, $7,200. After the taxes, there's enough to fund the full amount of the Roth. If all you did was contribute $6,000 from 0 to 20, that's $120,000. But you have to remember, you got 20 years of compounding. So depending on what you do and what you buy, whether you trade stocks inside the Roth, you trade crypto inside the Roth, you do real estate deals inside the Roth, you can actually take shares of companies inside the Roth. The guy who owned PayPal put all his shares in the Roth, which kind of disrupted the Roth world, because when he sold off, he made over $1 billion tax-free in his Roth. So it kind of irritated the IRS and ERISA and all the agencies. So now there's new rules. As one transaction can't make more than 10 million, or you blow the Roth up, which makes it taxable. So there's all sorts of new rules that it got enacted once the executive at PayPal did that. So it's a little more restrictive, but you still can, it's still one of the best vehicles that I like for kids, because then later, you can imagine if you gave them a base of 120 and then they start pulling this out at 50 and 60, you've made them a millionaire by one move, employing them and giving them a Roth. So don't let that one run by you very fast. And if you are older, just do it now. You say, well, I make too much money. I would say, why are you making that much money? You don't need to you as a person don't need to make that money. You don't need to have that big salary. So I've never had a salary outside of when I left Chevron of more than 100,000 ever. Like, why? My companies make money. I don't need that much money. That's a whole concept. If you're interested in that, go to the search bar on my channel and say, what is she talking about? That's interesting. So other things too, just to other facts, you can convert your 401k into an IRA. You can do a solo 401k for your company, your operating company. So you can do an HSA, which is a health savings account where you self-insure your entire family. We use iFlip, so click on the link below, go check out the webinar. It's a software and it can trade inside your Roth. So your Roth could own the flip account as another vehicle to put it in. We have lots of alternatives that make you a lot of money and also protect your money for later in life. As far as keeping up to date on all these rules, the IRS and your plan company, whoever holds your 401k, IRA, or Roth plans, you've got to stay in touch with them. You've got to stay up to date, and you got to manage the paperwork. So it's a little more extra activity. I'm not going to call it work, yes, but you need to manage your wealth. You don't just park your money at the financial planner and pray to God that everything's going to get done right. They're doing this for commissions and fees, not because they give a crap about your plan. So Wake up about that. And 529 plans for college kids. The pandemic has disrupted enrollment in colleges, and the 529 has to be used for higher education. So if your kid's not going to school, you're going to have to put them in some sort of a schooling to actually use the money in the 529 plan. So I've seen some parents totally overfund their 529. The kid wants to be an entrepreneur. What are you going to do with that money? You can use it for housing, for boarding, for tuition, but there's some restrictions around that. So be careful when you enter these vehicles. Remember, financial planners sell products. They sell these vehicles so they can make commissions and fees, not because they're part of your larger plan. Now, if they're part of your larger plan, there's clearly a place for financial planners in all of our world. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of licensed folks around me, but they understand the alternatives and not just short-term commissions and fees that really kind of back you into a corner. So whatever your plan is, make sure you do have some health savings, retirement, 401ks, Roths. All of those are critical vehicles as part of your overall strategy and what you choose to do. And if you haven't got my book, Make Your Kids Millionaires, jump over to makeyourkidsmillionaires.com. Buy it there. I can autograph and ship it out to you, and I give you over $1,500 of value of new bonuses. If you go to Amazon, I don't even know that you bought my book because I can't get your buying information. So please go to my store, makeyourkidsmillionaires.com, and any questions you have about this conversation, go to askloral.com. Join my membership. Let's do a business or money makeover on you. Look forward to meeting you. Talk to you tomorrow.